Celebrate Thanksgiving with Safeway. This week at Safeway, get whole Signature Farms frozen turkey, 10 to 15.5 pounds for $8 each, or 16.1 to 22 pounds for $10 each. Member price with a minimum $50 purchase, limit one per household. Plus, packs of Coca-Cola, Pepsi, 7-Up, Dr. Pepper, or AHA sparkling water are buy two, get three free. Limit 3 free items. Also this week, get 5-pound bags of Signature Farms russet potatoes for 97 cents each with digital coupon. Limit one. Visit Safeway.com or head in store for more details.
You are listening to the Hiking Radio Network, where we talk the walk with shows by hikers, about hikers, for everybody.
I'm wondering if you'd go wandering with me through the wilderness and woods to where the winds are blowing free, through the darkness of the night, heading toward the morning.
Welcome to the Jester Section Hiker Podcast, with the spotlight on section hikers.
And I'll spread the word, and you beat the drum. We'll round up the troops and get the gang to come. And we'll leave the streets and these neighborhoods, head over the river and through the woods.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Jester Section Hiker Podcast, your premier podcast with the spotlight on section hikers, and I'm your host, Julie Jester Gayhart. All right, you guys, let's start off with an update on Jester's class of 2022 section hikers. First of all, let me say the response has been overwhelming. I am so grateful for that. And I am excited to really put a focus on building the section hiker community where we support and follow each other. I am also excited to share we have our 14, and well, I might even make it 15 members of the class, and I have started interviewing and getting those episodes put together for you guys. Just a reminder that you will start hearing those episodes the first Saturday in May, which is May 7th, and they will go through the end of July or early August. And let me just say, we have a group of people that are section hiking all over the place. I am back this week with co-host Austin Wallis. I hope you all have had a chance to go and check out Austin's YouTube channel over these last few months titled Side Trail Adventures. Austin does such a great job with not just filming his hikes, but also putting together a story that so many of us can relate to and enjoy. So for this episode, you're going to hear some of Austin's process for putting together his videos and his storytelling. Thanks for joining me again for another week on the podcast, and now on to a familiar voice to the show, Austin Wallis. All right, Austin, welcome back to the podcast.
What's going on?
I got to tell you guys, it is so true every time. Austin, how long have we been talking, Austin?
Ooh, maybe 6 months? More than
no,
that.
I mean just now.
Oh gosh. It's been a solid 40 minutes. At least 40 minutes.
And I never hit the button when I should. So it's a good warm up to get us going. So
right. Yeah.
This episode,
gotta get the vibes.
I'm going to tell a story to start us off. So this episode is titled Hiking, Filming, and Storytelling. I almost said fishing. It's not fishing. It's hiking, filming, and storytelling. And I was sitting down one Sunday afternoon. I was putting some notes together, and I said, it'd be great if Austin would talk about his storytelling process when he does his videos. And sure enough, about 2 days later, Austin puts out a video of how he does his process. So I want to know, did you read my email before you put the video out, Austin, or what happened?
No. Well, I was trying to catch the bubble of like all the future JMT hikers for this summer. They're, the window for permits is right about now. So
you are smart.
So everybody's watching JMT videos now. So I wanted, I still have one that I just haven't edited yet, of all my gear that I took on the JMT. And so I need to get that out too, just so it's out there so people can watch it. But that was really the driving force behind putting that filming video out, was just to have that out there for people that are doing the same thing that we did last year, you know, trying to figure out what gear to take and what process they want to go through, whatever. So yeah, completely random, but yeah, it's just kind of funny. It all worked out like that.
And it coincides nicely because,
Yeah.
you know, there's all these words out there. I'm trying to think of like how we title ourselves: hikers, creators, influencers, YouTubers, vloggers, all this kind of
Bumbling
stuff.
idiots.
Bubbling. And now it's almost become, here we are at 2022, it's almost become part of the hiking process with a lot of people. So in addition
Yeah.
to where I'm going to hike, and all the gear that goes with that, you also have all your filming gear and what camera you're going to carry.
Mhm.
And to me, there's a big difference between someone vlogging who's daily vlogging their hikes and someone like you who I consider a storyteller. So you actually go out on your hike and you film during your hike, and then you come home and try to tell the best possible story. And I think when I first started watching your videos, that's what drew me in to your channel and to you as a person because of your voiceovers and some of the things that we're going to get into. So let's start this off. Let's start with the filming. So in addition to planning your hike and all your gear and wonderful stuff, let's talk about your process in the filming. So obviously you have a camera and you have some various things. So let's start off with some gear.
Gear. That's what everybody loves to talk about, right?
Yeah.
So the system that I have kind of figured out, so the main workhorse camera that I use is the Canon M50. And that's kind of my vlogging camera. I use an 18 to 150 millimeter lens on that. And that allows me to kind of reach out and get just a little bit of zoom here and there. And I like taking stills as well. So the M50 is fantastic for that because I'm not necessarily a very skilled photographer. I have not switched out of automatic mode, but the Canon M50 has got some real great stuff under the hood that allows people with no talent like me to just point the camera in a particular direction and hit the button, and it takes great pictures. So on top of that, I've got a Rode Video Micro, which is a microphone, and then a dead cat on that, just to keep the sound tolerable. I think sound is just as important as good video, because if you have, sound is like one of those things, like you don't really notice it if it's good, but if it's bad, you're like, oh, that sounds terrible, or the voice is not good, or the wind, you can't hear anything over the wind. So that's the main camera that I use for most of the stuff. And then for B-roll and walking shots, for inclement weather, I have a GoPro Hero 8. And that's not the best and brightest GoPro. I think they're up to the 10 now. But I'm one of those guys that kind of like, I do a bunch of research beforehand, and I don't always want or need the greatest thing that's out there or the newest piece of gear. So plus it's cheaper to buy stuff that's maybe a few generations older. And
it works just as well. Some of that stuff works just as well.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with the GoPro Hero 8. The stabilization is the main thing that I like about it, because when it came out, they called it the gimbal killer, because it's just rock solid, smooth video. And for a tiny little camera, it does some amazing things. Like I do all of my overnight time lapses. It's just got so much under the hood for such a tiny little camera. So it's if you only take one camera, take a GoPro. But if you're going to take two, take the big honking Canon.
So you mentioned something a little bit earlier. You said B-roll. Now I've heard people say B-roll. I got to shoot my B-roll. What is B-roll for those of us that are like, what the heck are you doing here?
So B-roll is kind of like how do I describe it? It's essentially like nobody's really talking. Imagine like you're doing a montage. B-roll is what you would use in a montage. So walking shots, the slow pans across a landscape, stuff like that. That would be considered B-roll. Whereas like me talking to the camera, that would be A-roll. if that makes sense.
Well, I didn't know
So,
that.
yeah.
Okay, that's good. You shooting your A roll or your B roll? I'm kidding. But I am going to ask somebody
No,
that when
those
I'm
are
out
actual
hiking.
terms. That's actual terms. I didn't make that up, believe it or not.
So that'll lead into, okay, so we have a little glimpse into your gear, and I do want to tell everybody to go over, what is the title of your video that you actually put out with all of, when I say all, you guys, this is unbelievable what he carries with him, so you got to go watch it.
I think it's called Filming on the Trail.
Okay.
And it's, just filming on the trail, what I used for my JMT through hike.
I mean, the stuff you put in a gallon bag, I mean, I was like, oh my God.
Well, and that was the result of months and months and months of research and just buying pieces of gear slowly over time. Because there was easily in that video, probably, I'll just say conservatively $1,500, but probably closer to $2,000 worth of equipment.
Wow.
In that little thing. So it's like, I'm not rolling in it. So I gotta buy that stuff slowly over time.
And that's what intrigues me too, because some people that I follow, their videos are just high quality storytelling. And I've heard you mention IB Tat in your video, and I cracked up laughing. I love watching his stuff because it is very high quality. Awesome. It's just very high quality. I mean, his language is not for some people, but to me, it just adds to it. So,
you got to watch him with headphones. It's fine.
Yeah. And without children in the car, probably. But so with all of that being said, with your gear and people going to watch your video, one of the main things that I'm really interested in, and I watch videos now, not necessarily for people, but how they put together their content and their style of shots. So I don't know, maybe I'm getting interested in video. We'll see. So how do you keep it interesting with your style of shots?
Varying the shots, because it's, there's nothing wrong with any particular way. My style has definitely evolved. Like if you go back and watch the first video that I posted, it was actually the segment 10 of the Mountains of Sea Trail. You go back and watch that video and then go and watch my episode 6 of the JMT, 100% different videos. Like even though obviously different trails, but the style is completely different. So I've definitely had a process that I've gone through to come to what I am today as far as what I make. But I think if you vary shots, how do I even say it? The way that I like to, place a camera, like the GoPro is great because you can put it almost anywhere, is put the camera somewhere that you don't normally see, like some vantage point that you don't normally, as you're hiking, it's always eye level straight ahead. Well, let's put the camera down close to the ground or close to the ground and then like 3 feet off trail, just hold the camera over to the right or to the left and go through some weeds or some flowers or get some macro shots of some bugs or flowers or leaves, just those kinds of things. Or, I've kind of gone away from the walking shots. And when I say walking shots, like putting the camera in a stationary place and then walking by it, either walking away from it or walking towards it or whatever. But there's nothing wrong with that either, because I've done that in the past. It's just cumbersome. And my brother doesn't let me do it anymore because he's like, let's go. Let's go.
And now I think sometimes people do it on purpose. They purposely do a walk back and walk away because that's, what people want to see. And now I see it as like gag reels or something like that, or clips at the end, like, hey, this is what.
Yes.
Which is interesting. That just means you're growing as a style, is the way I would put it.
That's a really nice way of putting it. But no, I just like to keep things, instead of just looking straight ahead at the trail, let's look straight ahead at the trail, but let's get low, or let's get really high. Let's go, I'll have the camera on a tripod and hold it up as high as I can. And then like look backwards. Like if my brother's behind me, I'll film him, as he's hiking towards me. Just little stuff like that to keep the shots interesting, as long as there's a variety of different shots, that kind of help tell the story, because you can't just tell a story from one perspective.
And do you like to throw stills in there too? Do you take a bunch of stills and mix them up and throw them? For me, it's hard to tell.
I have not done any stills yet, mainly because I haven't, like I said, my photography skills aren't quite what I would like. But I have seen people that have done that, and I really like this. So maybe next time we'll see.
There you go. There you go. So speaking of your brother and adding time to your hike, how much do you think it adds as far as like stopping, setting up a shot, or, doing the walk by, taking it back? Or how much, okay, so there's two questions here. How much time do you think it adds? And then how much time do you do taking shots over, or do you do that?
You mean like taking shots like, oh, I don't like this shot, I'm going to take another one? Or
like talking, or you have to redo your talking or something, like how many takes? I guess I didn't say that right. So
yeah. So I will say that I don't take any time, because for me, filming the hike and taking photos during the hike is part of my hike. So like when I say I'm going to go hiking, that's part of it. Like that's an implied task, that I'm going to be out there.
I like that.
Pointing the camera. So in my mind, like I said, we'll get to it in a second, what Strider thinks, but I don't think it adds any time, because it's all part of my experience.
Gotcha.
That's what I do.
So you don't see that as taking time away from your experience. That is your intention. Yeah.
Yes, that's part of my experience. Now, if you ask Strider, my brother, he is going to say that it probably takes a little extra time, because he's a faster hiker than I am in general. So he's going to say that he waits for me here and there, and he does. And he's patient. Perfect example. So the morning that we summited Mount Whitney on the JMT, it was 35 degrees and blustering wind, just awful cold, but clear and beautiful. And I was like, I am going to burn up some SD cards up here, baby. But it was just miserably cold. But I'm just taking as many videos as I can. My hands are shaking. I'm taking pictures because I don't, I'm one of those guys too. Like I'll shoot as much video as I possibly can, as many pictures as I possibly can. And then I'll figure it out on the back end, like what's going to work and what's not going to work. Because to give you some perspective, each video that I put out, let's say I put out a 30-minute video that you see on YouTube, there's probably 4 times as much footage than actually made it on the video. So like a 30-minute video came from 2 hours of raw footage. So I take a ton of stuff, and only the best of the best makes it into the video. So long story short, we were up on Mount Whitney, and the sun had come up, it had done its thing. The people that we had watched the sunrise with had already left, and I'm still taking videos and taking pictures of rocks and whatever. And he's like, dude, let's go. Like, enough already. I was like, all right.
But you're on Mount Whitney.
That's what I said. I was like, how many times are we going to come up here again? Honestly, if you tell me it's going to be a bunch of times, fine. But if this is probably a once in a lifetime thing. So I'm going to take as many pictures as I want. Thank you very much.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think it all depends on the style of shooting too. As far as like time, obviously setting up the camera, walking by it or whatever, that's going to take time. It's all what you want to do. I try to be as least intrusive, whatever the word is. I don't like to be a burden. So that's why you don't see me doing many walking shots, especially with Strider. It's just because we're going to shoot, we're going to move, we're going to keep going. So
there you go. So pretty much you've told us your gear, you told us your style of shots, that it's pretty much incorporated into your hike, what you're going to do. Now let's get into this. I'm interested in your storytelling process because you and I have never talked about this before. No. So I'm interested to pick your brain how you do tell the story. Do you have something to see? For me with podcasting, it's about telling somebody else's story. A lot of the times, I would say probably 90% of the episodes, it's trying to get me to tell someone else's story. But for you, you're telling the story of your hike. You're telling the story of the trail where you are, and maybe trying to tell the story of for a lot of your emotions and how you felt when you were
Mm-hmm.
on the hike. And that's another reason that I like your videos, is because you pull me into the emotions. And that's what keeps, for me, and probably for a lot of people, keeps people coming back. So walk us through your process.
Well, as far as the story exists, like it happened on the trail. And so it's, for me as a storyteller, it's like, okay, I know what happened. I know how I felt. I might even know how Strider felt, when he was out there with me, but like, how do I convey that? Early on, when I was making videos, I relied a lot on talking to the camera to relay information. But what I learned with, I did a video last year where I didn't do any talking, and I told the whole story through video and ambient sounds and that kind of thing. And so that's kind of where I've been trying to flex my creative juices, by telling a story without speaking. And sometimes you can't do it. Like, I go back to the JMT because that's kind of where I threw all of my creative juices under those 6 videos. But like when we finished the trail, there was so much emotion, but the video didn't capture it. Because it was just kind of like, okay, we're done. Let's go get a burger. But
that's how you feel 9 times out of 10. Okay, great.
Right.
Let's eat.
But there was so much that had gotten us to that point. And that was one of the things I wanted to make sure that I conveyed in the videos, is like, yeah, it was this abrupt, unceremonious end to the hike. But my brother and I high-fiving at the end, like that meant everything. Like just that sense of accomplishment and relief, and just all of those different emotions, happy and sad. And, but so in that case, I did a voiceover and tried to convey those emotions through speaking. But other times, and this goes for the kayaking videos too, and we do like the long distance kayaking videos. I will like to tell the story by just pointing the camera at somebody else, and just that candid conversation. They may or may not even know they're being filmed. But some of the best stories, like when I still am working through editing all the videos, but I did a trip with the River Kings down the Deep River. And one of my favorite interactions was I just set the camera up one morning and pointed at all of us, and then just hit record. And we went about our, getting camp packed down and everything like that, and caught some of the funniest conversations that, unless I had recorded it, probably none of us would have remembered. And so some of it could not make it in the video. However, the reactions were so genuine. And so when you're trying to convey what it's like to be on a trip or anything like that, sure, you can get some of that through talking to a camera, but sometimes you just got to point that camera and let it roll and see what happens. And the other key part of telling a story, and this is actually some based on some of the feedback I've gotten from people that have commented on the videos, is they say like, thank you for showing that it's not all like easy, like showing the good, the bad, and the ugly, because there's, as you know, there's plenty of pain involved in hiking.
Oh yeah.
There's lots of emotions that go into kayaking, and if you only show the good stuff, the stuff like I love the phrase rainbows and unicorns. If you only show rainbows and unicorns, it paints a false image. And not only are you not being genuine, but let's say there's a newbie out there that's using your video or your content as a basis for their planning. And they think, like, because this happened to me when I first got back into hiking. I was watching Darwin, I was watching Dixie, and they're doing 30-mile days. And I'm like, all right, so 30 miles. All right, so 15 miles before lunch. Okay, yeah, I could do that. And then I went out. Yeah. So So when it came time in my to actually go do 30 miles and I'm broke off at 12, then I'm like, well, that's clearly not going to work. So that's why I try to be as genuine as possible.
You know what? I laugh, but we've all done that. I mean, that is yes.
Because 30 is just a number until you try to start hiking it, and then you're like,
that's an ultra marathon a day. I mean, there are ultra runners that train to only run that distance like one time every 6 months. That is anti-human to do day after day after day after day after day. I mean, that is athletic ability, right? I mean, it's I still think I can do that in my mind. I mean,
well, that's the only place I can do it.
I could probably do it for a short amount of time, but I'm certainly not going to get 15 done by noon unless I start at like 3 a.m. or something like that.
Yeah, not going to happen.
No.
But yeah, so I think it's important because that's all part of the trail experience. It's all part of being, because I do kayaking videos too. So that's all part of being on the river, because it's not all rainbows and unicorns. There's a lot of rainbows and unicorns. Don't get me wrong. That's what keeps us going out. But there's a lot that, there's a lot of challenge and obstacles to overcome. And it's important that we talk about that too. That's all part of it. So sometimes it's not the most glamorous, like some people that, like, I like to think that I don't have very much of an ego, but people that have egos have a problem with putting stuff out there that makes them look bad.
Yeah.
And so you can kind of see through people like that. But like going back to IB Tat, since we talked about him, like there's a guy that films everything as 100% genuine 100% of the time. I loved watching his final video, the CDT, where he's just crying, and there's a big burly guy that I would never want to be in a fight with. No. But he's just bawling his eyes out. And I respected that because I was like, that's not easy. That's not only is it not easy to hike CDT, but it is not easy to put yourself out there like that. So that's all part of the storytelling, I think. Yeah.
And then, there's a whole other side. You did mention the voiceovers, but there's also the music that, to me, music can make or break the entire video.
Yes. And in the editing process, like sometimes that can be a real black hole of time, finding the right music.
I was wondering how long you took to, and I know a lot of people are using Epidemic Sound.
Yep.
I know YouTube has their own, music deal, but I think a lot of times I'll hear the same music in a lot of people's videos. And I don't know if that's Epidemic Sound. I don't know if it's YouTube. I don't know where it's coming from. But the music rabbit hole, I imagine.
Yeah, I made the switch over to Epidemic Sound in 2020. And before that, I used the YouTube audio library, which has some good stuff in there, but it is not as user-friendly when it comes to trying to find the right thing, whatever kind of mood you're trying to set. Epidemic Sound makes it much easier. There's still a lot that you have to go through, but Epidemic Sound, every time you listen to a song or download a song or add it to a playlist, it registers that. And so it gives you recommendations. You can, let's say I have a song that I really like and I want to find something that sounds a little like it, like, same instrument, same tempo, same whatever. I can just click on that song and then Epidemic Sound will create a list of sound or songs that sound like it. And so I can go through that and find one that I like. Or you can just do the traditional, like, I want to find something that's folk music that's got guitars in it, whatever. So it's a lot easier to find stuff. But it's still just time consuming because most of the time I know the feeling that I'm trying to convey, and it's a matter of finding the right song to fit that feeling. And so sometimes it's really, really difficult to find the right music, and sometimes it just falls into place. So, but yeah, music can dictate the mood. It can dictate a feeling. So I enjoy it. And I went through a phase where I didn't use any music because I read somewhere that music was a crutch for bad video.
Okay.
So I was like, okay. But it helped me. I don't necessarily condone that saying, but it helped me get better at paying more attention to the sounds that I was capturing, and helped me get a better appreciation. It was the driving force for me getting an external mic, because I went through a phase where I only used ambient sounds in the videos and no music. And I just didn't want to watch it anymore. So the current style that I have now is more of a introduction. Then there's going to be like a little montage with some clips, then some talking, then a montage with clips, and then maybe some more talking, maybe a voiceover here and there, but kind of more like a highlight reel than a vlog or anything like that. And the only reason I've done that is just because that's what is visually pleasing for me. That's, I'm still able to go back and watch it and not be like, this is boring, next.
And that's your style, and I love it.
And it might change next week, but who knows?
And it goes into this. I have a title here. I titled it "Creative Process." So it is a process, and I laugh about that. And as a podcaster or an interviewer or a speaker myself, it's like, over these last 2 years going on 3, I look back and people say, well, what have you learned from podcasting, or what have you learned from people? And like for me, I am a much better writer because I still hate writing, but I'm a much better writer because I have to think about it because I'm trying to tell a story. I'm a much better guest speaker because when you listen to yourself on audio over and over and over again, and you learn this too with doing voiceovers and the recent video and doing the audio in the Dan Durston video, that's like a whole nother process. And to me, I've kind of realized I'm building like a whole nother resume here of talents and, a creative outlet that I've had. So with all of that being said, what have you found out about yourself, starting to do these videos and, become better at, a lot of things, right?
I think that it has unlocked a creative side of me that I didn't realize was there. Cause like, let's just say 10 years ago, if you were to tell me that I was going to create a YouTube channel and I was going to talk to a camera for fun, I'd be like, well, that sounds kind of dorky. So I'm going to go ahead and make fun of you now. But yeah, I've definitely gotten more comfortable talking in general in front of public or anything like that. Because talking to the camera is not a natural thing because especially if you're by yourself, or actually it's worse when there's people around, when you just whip that thing out and you're talking to somebody or talking to the camera and somebody's like standing 10 feet over here to your left and you're pretending like this thing that you're holding in your hand is a person. And so to talk to the camera in a way that sounds and looks natural is not something that it just doesn't come naturally for me, at least.
No, I have gone out to my local nature preserve and recorded for the podcast, and people will walk by and I'm like, hey, how's it going? And I just kind of act like, and I just keep going. It's so weird. It's so I can imagine, and I've dabbled in vlogging, blogging, whatever, and it's horrible. And I just, I'm not.
Well, the way I look at vlogging in general and talking to the camera is I will only talk to the camera when I have something to say. And it sounds weird, but I'll try to explain it. Like everyone's got their own style. So I'm not going to like try to dog on somebody's style. That's just the way that I do. But like the only time that I pick up the camera and talk to it is if I'm trying to convey an emotion or trying to log a particular event or something like that. But there are some that you'll see and they just, well, here we are, we're at this trail junction and it's kind of warm. And, for me, I'm like, I can try to convey temperature or weather or anything like that another way.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Yeah. So I try to limit myself as far as talking to the camera now. And I really only use it for, story time or something like that. But yeah.
It's your own style, and
Yeah.
I love it.
There's no way wrong. No, there's no wrong way to do it. It's just the way that I do it. So.
Well, let me ask you this. So I know for me on the podcast, and Steve told me this when I started. He said it will take you several episodes, and it took me 50. I feel like once I hit 50 episodes, I'm like, I have a rhythm now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is actually my show, and I have a process. But it took that many, and I apologize for everyone that was on 49 and down. So, Austin, I think you're okay. You're above 50.
Nailed it.
So anyway, so as far as your video process, was there a certain amount of videos where you realized, okay, this is my niche. This is what I want to do?
Well, I'm not a very original thinker, and so I've kind of cherry picked from other people's styles, and this style that I've ended up with is kind of the metamorphosis of that. But there's a guy called Alex Norman, I think is his name. He's on YouTube. He actually does tutorials on storytelling, visual storytelling, and that kind of thing. Darwin is another big inspiration as far as style goes, and Eric Normark, I think is how you say it. He's Scandinavian, but he was one that got me inspired to do the no talking videos, because 95% of his videos, he never talks. And they're just breathtaking videos. And so I've kind of picked what I like from other people and made it my own. And it's been a process. Now I kind of know when I go out on a hike, just like what I talked about, I've got a establishing, here's what we're doing. Welcome to the whatever hike, paddle, whatever. And then just pointing that camera wherever it is we're going. And then I've got a few styles of shots, the up high or the up low, or the looking backwards, looking forwards, kind of rotate through those shots. And that's kind of the process that I go through. And then the story happens as we're out there. And then it's just a matter of going back through and putting that puzzle together, because like I said, we got, I have 4 times as much footage as what actually goes into a video. And so it's, I know the story, and then I've got all these little puzzle pieces, and now it's a matter of putting them together in a way that's somebody that wasn't there would actually want to watch.
So I know we'll kind of close out with this, a couple things. So I know for I think it's every half hour of podcasting audio, it's 2 hours to edit that every half hour. So for one video, so that's just the editing of the audio. That's not talking to the guest. And I think I've averaged, it's anywhere between 5 and 8 hours per guest of time that's put into a podcast. So what would you say hour-wise per video?
A lot. I wouldn't even, maybe I would say 40 to 50 hours.
Yeah.
But it takes me, because this is not my full-time job. I do it. The editing process for me is I will edit until I'm tired of editing, and I will walk away from it so that I keep it fun. So it will take me weeks to push out a video. It took me from August until January to crank out all my JMT videos, to crank out 6 videos. So
yeah, but they're so good. They're so good.
Well, I appreciate that. But yeah, I would say conservatively at least 40 hours per video. But like, the filming video where I talked about all the filming gear, I did that in like 4 or 5 total.
So I guess it just depends on, if you're telling your JMT story, it's going to take longer. If you're talking about one specific topic just for that individual video, it might take less.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I see here in the notes, so we'll end with this. I see Side Trail Adventures merchandise coming soon. Tell us about that.
Well,
or am I not supposed to see that?
we can It's coming. I'll just put it like that. There's Side Trail Adventures merchandise coming, and I will do a video that does the official announcement because I want to do it. There's a cause that I would like to promote that merchandise is going to go towards. So if you're interested in Side Trail Adventures merchandise, which who wouldn't be?
I mean, exactly.
Whatever. But
that's what I was thinking.
But yeah, first round it'll be some t-shirts and hats and whatnot. But yeah, more to follow. So
awesome. Well, we'll end it on that note. And I want to be your first customer, so you have to let me know. I need a pre-preview. So you have one something sold, whatever it is.
Whew, thank goodness.
There you go. Well, all right, you guys. Austin, another episode in. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks, Austin, for coming back on the podcast and sharing your filming techniques and storytelling process when it comes to creating your videos. There are many different styles to creating a story, and there's no right way or wrong way. I think for Austin, it's been a process of learning a new craft and evolving with each hike and story being told. I love it. As always, you can go to the hikingradionetwork.com and click on the Jester Section Hiker Show to find all of today's show notes, pictures, and links mentioned in this episode. If you find value in what we do here at the network and want to give back to help in the production of all of our shows, you can always leave a donation by clicking on any one of the donate buttons found over on our website. And please, please, please be sure to leave us a note on why you enjoy our shows. Thanks for listening, be safe out there, and happy section hiking.
I'm wondering if you'd go wandering with me through the wilderness and woods to where the winds are blowing free, through the darkness of the night, heading toward the morning light. I wonder if you'd wander with me, and I'll spread the word and you beat the drum. We'll round up the troops and get the gang to come, and we'll leave the streets and these neighborhoods, head over the river and through the woods. You're wondering if I go wandering with you, what kind of trouble we'll get ourselves into. Would it be wrong to tag along with a band of vagabonds? You wonder if I'd wander with you. So I'll spread the word and you beat the drum. We'll round up the troops and get the gang to come, and we'll leave the streets and these neighborhoods, head over the river and through the woods. I'm wondering if you'd come wandering my way, if you ever get lost or if the trail leads you astray. The music of the pack can always bring you back. I wonder, can we wander away? And I'll spread the word and you beat the drum. We'll round up the troops and get the gang to come, and we'll leave the streets and these neighborhoods, head over the river and through the woods.
Celebrate Thanksgiving with Safeway. This week at Safeway, get whole Signature Farms frozen turkey, 10 to 15.5 pounds for $8 each, or 16.1 to 22 pounds for $10 each. Member price of the minimum $50 purchase, limit one per household. Plus, packs of Coca-Cola, Pepsi, 7-Up, Dr. Pepper, or AHA sparkling water are buy two, get three free. Limit 3 free items. Also this week, get 5-pound bags of Signature Farms russet potatoes for 97 cents each with digital coupon. Limit one. Visit Safeway.com or head in store for more details.